Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to reference a meme which shows how Indian families are when someone is grieving about a heartbreak, and we see that the girl, she goes into her home trying to hide her tears just after breakup. And when mom asks from where she's coming, she just says, I'm coming from college. So the mom intuitively possibly understands what's going on, because being a mom and being most likely the most feminine energy of the home, and also being a mom, she might also be the one who has the least bit of people asking her what is going on. That's why the mom is the first one to ask what is going on. Then she doesn't tell anything to her mom. She goes to the bathroom and is trying to cry. She's hiding under the bed and trying to cry, but every time, or taking a pillow and trying to muffle her tears. But if you are with people who truly care about you, even if you are not trying to show your tears, everyone around you in your home will feel your tears, because that is how humans are meant to be. We are here on a planet with so many people, and most of us who have family are there with so many family, because there's a purpose to it. And one of the purposes, we are all intuitively connected to each other even when we are not directly speaking to each other. So her family knew that she's likely grieving, so that's why the mom is asking, what do you want to eat, and asking the details to make her to give her some healing food so that she doesn't feel so sad so often. When she goes to the bathroom, the brother is teasing her, because even though she's trying to possibly hide a conversation with the boyfriend who has broken up, or maybe she's conversing with a friend about her issues, the brother is trying to tease her and distract her, because he might, either firstly because he wants to use the bathroom, secondly, that's what younger brothers can sometimes do. And then there's the dad, who also observes that her road face has changed, so dad also asks what is going on. Why is your nose red? But she avoids the answer by just pretending it's a she has a cold, and which leads to the mom and brother and everyone responding accordingly to what she answered. But now, herein is something most people who have a family life like this, it doesn't matter whether you're in an Indian home or some other home, this is what we need to realize about the value of grief. In the Bible, it is said that those who grieve, those who mourn, they will be consoled. So, that consoling is an important part of healing. So if she had used this opportunity, if not on this day but some other day when she's feeling really grief stricken, at that time, if she uses these opportunities and doesn't miss the cues that her family does understand that she's grieving something, or has picked up that something is wrong, even if they don't understand that she's grieving, if she has the courage to be vulnerable in front of the family and cry in front of them, or allow herself to break down in front of them, or at least allow herself to speak up what she's trying to talk to her friends about, or when she's trying to reconnect with her ex about the breakup, whatever she was doing. Because on the phone call, we don't know whether she was trying to talk to the ex about trying to get back, or I think she was trying to talk to the ex, but sometimes we may not want to get back to the ex. We might instead choose a friend to grieve about what happened with the breakup. That also some people tend to do. But while we do that, we share our emotional journey with want to share it with the ex, or want to share it with a friend. Many Indians feel that they can't do that in their home life. But there's a difference between those, not just Indians. There are many Asians who feel like that, especially when we see American movies and or even Bollywood movies, where families are much more cordial with each other, or much more emotionally connected to each other. Watching those movies and stories, we all expect that our families will be emotionally in that same level empathetic or connected to us, and automatically take be a ideal role model family. But that ideal role model family doesn't happen unless we allow ourselves to grieve in front of a family. Then only that ideal model family will manifest. Because if you watch even in the movies, if you have watched a movie or a TV show where a character is grieving, when a character is grieving, at a time that grief only leads to the further conversations, and which is where many of us, when we have a blocked heart chakra, or we don't trust our family to have our back, or we think that if we speak about our grief, it is something we should hide, we shouldn't speak about, maybe we will get scolded if we had been hiding a relationship with our family. All these factors can cause people to not reveal things to their family when they have a breakup. But breakup has a purpose, and this is one of the purposes of breakup, that the person who broke off with us, they broke off for whatever reason, the individual specific relation and the relationship specific reasons, because there's always some individual specific reasons, always some relationship specific reasons which will drive the relationship to break. Again, the patch up also, if it happens between someone with their exes, again there will be individual specific and relationship specific reasons which will cause a patch up to happen. But in the meantime, what is the higher purpose of the breakup? Higher purpose of the breakup is when we have broken up from someone, or someone broke up with us due to, or it was a mutual thing, whatever happened, grief will come to anyone. It doesn't matter who did the breakup. It could be the boyfriend who did it. Most probably in this case, in this clip, it's a boyfriend who did the breakup. But sometimes it's a mutual breakup too, when the relationship is falling apart and fragmenting, and slowly over time both people can decide that let's not do this. Even then you will be crying and grieving about something in the past that was of value to you, that was something you had emotionally invested in. But this is the second part of the breakup, when you have families who stay with you or who are concerned with you, like it is shown in this video. Because a part of breakup is also to learn how to be vulnerable, learn how to create empathy in the world, learn how to build better emotional connections with people in our lives. And that better emotional connection with people can't be done in our lives if we aren't vulnerable enough to also take up this opportunity when someone is asking what is going on. When the dad asks, why is your nose red, you could have said, I'm grieving a breakup. And yeah, it will lead to uncomfortable conversation if none of them knew that you were dating someone for a few years. But so what if they didn't know you were dating someone for a few years? The more important thing is you need to heal from a breakup, and no one is telling you that the first few weeks or a first 1 month or two, when you are healing and grieving from a breakup, that you shouldn't do it privately. A private grieving is necessary for everything that was private to you, personal to you. But after you have gone through this private grieving phase, when 1 month has passed, 2 months have passed, and you were fine, you were doing normal things, but suddenly, this is how relationships are, something will suddenly trigger in you a memory of the past. At the time when something has triggered a memory of the past and you are grieving, that time the secondary aspect of grieving, first primary aspect is you grieve with yourself. And she also tried to bargain with the boyfriend and trying to see whether the relationship breakup can be patched up. While she's done all that for a few months, if she's still crying like this behind the scenes, and every night she's falling asleep crying like this, or every week she remembers something about the boyfriend and as she's grieving, at the time this kind of family life is important. Because if family asks you what is going on, at the time be vulnerable and discuss with them what is going on, because they are not going to, unless your father is a strict disciplinarian like the DDLJ father of Simran's, or unless, and even there, while the father was a strict disciplinarian, she still had a mother with whom she could sit and discuss what is going on with her in her life. And there are many children who don't understand this, while this is the average middle class life of many Indians or other Asians and other cultures globally, where you feel you can't reveal your vulnerabilities to your parents. There is a difference between feeling you can't reveal something to your parents versus actually people having parents with whom you can't have these discussions. Because if you say have a mentally ill parent, or if you have a strict disciplinarian parent, or if you have a drug addicted parent, or if you have a selfish narcissistic parent, or if you have someone who is completely, even if you reveal things to them, their mental faculties are or emotional faculties are such that they will just simply not get what you are trying to grieve about. If these kind of parents or family are there in your life, how much ever you tell them I'm grieving, or you cry to them, or this is what my relationship was about, they will not be able to meet your needs. They will not be there. Those are the people with real life, real problems, where really realistically they cannot discuss a heartbreak or a grief with their family, which is what has happened with me many a times when I've tried to discuss certain things. One time it was like it was not a heartbreak related thing, but there was something that happened at workplace where I was molested at workplace. Now, my mom was at that time leaving and going on a vacation, and I got really angry that you are never asking. My parents never ever asked us what is going on in our life. And it's not that that was the first molestation incident, but that was the ugliest incident, and I needed to really talk to someone about it. And my mom was leaving, so I got really pissed off. And that's the first time, because I was never allowed to grieve in my family. Yeah, I've had these hidden tear like moments occasionally, but most of the time, instead of the tear like moments, if you don't even have the space, emotional space, or what will I say, the life conditions to allow you to grieve, you will not even grieve. You will straight away, instead of grieving, many people straight away go into anger instead. So, and it's not that I didn't grieve. I grieved one day and I didn't know what to do about this dirty experience. And then my mom was leaving for her vacation, so I got really angry that you're always like involved only in your things. You're never looking at what is happening with me, and you know how many times I have been molested, blah blah blah, something like that. I told my mom. This is kind of like the last conversation I had with her, second last conversation I had with her before she left. And she left for Kolkata, and then she died there. So and after that I never even had anyone to grieve. But my life before my mom died and my life after she died, both were going to be actually similar, because my parents were such, they never ever even asked what is going on in your life, not the normal things. Neither did they ask when you are grieving, actually why are you grieving. Like this, mom and dad and brother are either asking directly or teasing and trying to figure out what is going on. And this is how lives of people who are neglected in their childhood ends up actually being in your childhood or in your adulthood. If you have had this kind of a neglect, how much ever you live with 10 people or 5 people, you will feel lonely living with them, because you're not intuitively or emotionally connected. There's no intuitive or emotional connection with those people. They haven't built a connection with you. Neither they have they tried to understand what is your life journey, or what are the small things, major things that are causing problems in your life. So as a result, those people who do not have, and why do you think I'm crying right now? Because this is a grief from that many years back, a grief that I didn't get to process, neither in my home life nor outside my home life, because some griefs are like that. You just don't have the right people to express what was going on with you. And these are the people who really, when they say they have Asian families where they can't express anything, these are those kind of people. Either you will have an abusive life. I had a neglectful life. So it's not that I had the worst life. That's why, I'm not grieving that much also. And I can get back the control of the grief also. And I don't need to value so much in the grief, because I at least We didn't have that was a life where someone may have addicted parents, where you do have to also caretake of your parents rather than and caretake your other physical needs or other care related needs. When the parent is a drug addict, or parent is absolutely careless, gambles away all the money, or the parent is two parents are always conflict filled and involved in conflict in the home life, and that's why never really focusing on the kid. Now those kind of family life has even double or five times more intensity of problems, because neglect and abuse are going hand in hand, or neglect, abuse, and a child having to grow up sooner is also happening hand in hand, and they really don't have anyone to talk to in their home life when they come back home after a bad day. But apart from these kind of children who are experiencing neglect, abuse, traumas in their daily lives, the children who have a normal average middle class life, where abuse, trauma is not happening, where such conflicts are not happening, where absolute silence is not happening, where parental absence is not happening, or parental, despite parents being present physically, their absence is there completely in the emotional or understanding aspect. If those kind of parents are not there in your life, which these two parents shown in this video are not that kind of a parent, so she could have easily used she has the opportunity to now in the future when she is grieving, or any child like her when they are grieving, they have the opportunity now to grieve in front of the dad, grieve in front of the mom. And it's necessary to grieve also in front of the brother, because the brother being younger and also being more in his only masculine energy and less in tune with his feminine energy, he is the least likely right now to understand or empathize with her, or might think, oh, it's just a silly heartbreak or whatever that a teen will think. But if she empathizes in front of, if she cries in front of him, if she speaks in front of him about her grief, if she manages to even have a normal chat instead of crying with him about what a heartbreak does or what men do, then he has the opportunity now to become a better man for a woman in the future. Because I have seen this with my sister when she was grieving, and she has grieved in front of all the relatives about her issues. What has happened is, as a result of her speaking up her troubles with her spouse, and similar thing used to happen where my her brother, he has developed the intuitive capacity to now understand women's issues. And not just her, I have also sometimes vented out about relationship issues in front of them. So based on that, because he is a little bit more intuitively connected, he gets to understand the women's issues. And the more people speak like this in front of their siblings also, even the siblings who are teasing, if you speak more in front of those siblings, they are more likely to develop empathy for your experience, and not just empathy for your experience, they will also develop empathy in the future then towards the experience of another person that they will be dating or they will eventually get married to. And then if they have a daughter, then the daughter too will have that empathetic parent now in their life. And this is how we open up a society to more beautiful ways of living, when we are able to be vulnerable in front of people. But again, you have to be vulnerable in front of whom? Who asks you what is happening, who cares about you, who is present really and truly in your life via communication and asking you realistically what is going on with you. And those who are actually really the subset who don't have these kind of, they don't have a brother who's teasing them, they don't have a mother who is feeding you important food when you're grieving. Because when you're grieving or sad and depressed, actually this is true what the mother was doing. If you eat foods that bring you joy, the dopamine rush, the serotonin rush, those kind of foods that will give you like a high happy hormones rush, the foods that make you feel like this is my comfort food, if you consume that food, that will naturally automatically stop the grief from progressing into a really overwhelming grief, right? And imagine there another family life where there's no mom who's asking you what will you eat, what do you want want to eat, no mom who's cooking you your favorite food even without you asking that, or I want to eat this, I eat that. Because many parents, many people do have these lucky moms who will cook for them without them asking also what is your favorite food. They also have those moms who will ask you what is going on in your life, and they will repeatedly ask you. It's not that they will ask you one time, they might ask you 5 times. And when you're immature, you might think, why is my mom asking me 5 times? I don't want to discuss my grief with my mom. But maybe it's the fifth time that she's asking, because you have 5 opportunities, you had 5 opportunities to express your grief with your mom. The first time, second time, third time you didn't take the opportunity. That's fine, because you want to personally grieve. But in a span of 1 year, if you're continuously grieving our ex-boyfriend, and in that 5 times a mother has asked you every other month or something what is going on, first 5-6 months you grieved by yourself, it's okay. But the next 5-6 months you can grieve with your parents, because that's how you build empathy with your parents, that's how you build emotional connection with your parents. And maybe when you have these conversations with your parents, you may learn something about your parent. Your parent could teach about your parent could have had a grief life experience in the past. Your parent may not have had it, but a parent's sibling or a parent's friend could have had a grief stricken experience like this in the past. Your parents' generation could have some input about what are the healthy ways to go through grief, which already intuitively the mother knew. How one of the healthy ways is giving comfort food or eating comfort food. The other healthy way is someone asking you, what is going on with you, which the dad did. The third healthy way is teasing you and taking your mind off of the grief trajectory. All three are relevant ways, all three are needed ways of healing. And the fourth thing is the annoyance that is created in you. That annoyance is also necessary. While you're grieving, like, oh my god, this relationship failed and 3 years I invested, and I was so emotionally attached to this person, while for 1 whole year or 6 whole months you did these kind of grieving. When you get annoyed also, that annoyance is necessary. That annoyance, she's getting annoyed at her brother for teasing her, but that annoyance is also necessary for distracting her from the grief trajectory. That annoyance and teasing is keeping her off the loop or feedback loop of continuously just valuing in grief and then going towards depression. And that's all avoided then, because someone is there to stop her, check her, redirect her, help her heal. All of these, the brother is doing the stopping, checking and redirecting aspect. The mother is also doing the redirecting and healing aspect. When the mother first time understood her and gave her healing food, the second time she either deliberately misunderstood her or is actually misunderstanding her when she said she has a cold, and she was naturally again annoyed, right, that the mother is telling wear this sweater, wear that, and she's now, because she has lied, now she has to cover up that lie, and she's annoyed actually with herself. But that self annoyance is also necessary. The annoyance over another person is also necessary, but not actually over the brother or the mother. These two emotions, if she now takes the time to reflect, which the dad is giving her the opportunity when he asks what's going on, why is your nose red, when the dad is observational personality, right? So if she shares her experience with the dad, she'll get some observational insights. Maybe she will get a man's insight also about what goes through a man's head when he breaks up with a girl. And if she really wants to get back with her boyfriend, maybe her dad's insight might help her get back with the boyfriend. If she doesn't want to get back with her boyfriend, or the relationship had a lot of red flags that she wasn't able to pick up, by discussing these things with her family, they might be able to tell her the red flags that she wasn't able to pick up. That's why also, that is also an important part of grieving and healing and moving on, because grieving is necessary. For you have to have a heart to grieve that which you valued. You have to have empathy to value also good relationships. So there were some good things about the relationship that made her value that relationship. So all that grieving helps you do that. Grieving also helps you self-reflect, but self-reflection is also much better when you start self-reflecting with interdependent relationships, because then while you are self reflecting, you're only able to see it from your mind's eye, your perspective. But if you reflect it alongside with another, they are also giving you the perspective of the boyfriend side that you may not be able to perceive, but they, being a neutral third party, might be able to perceive better. That's why grieving and speaking to someone else helps. And then once they have given their perspective, of course each of them will give their own perspective. Potentially sometimes people will not give you any perspective at all, they will just simply listen. Whichever thing happens, someone will listen, someone will give their perspective, someone might even give you advice. Everyone will, once you share your grief, everyone will have a different way of responding to your grief. And based on those different responses also, you learn key things about life, where you learn about how you can then empathize with someone else when someone else is grieving. You can and then you can test out whichever way works best for you. You can become like she can when her friend is grieving. Is it only about her grief? What is the higher purpose of her having gone through grief? 5 years later, 10 years later, she might have a daughter who again, when that daughter is going through something, now she will know better how to deal with the daughter's grief. If she didn't have a daughter, she had friends or sister-in-laws who were grieving. At that time, she will become the better quality friend or sister-in-law, or a colleague who is grieving. She'll become a better colleague then. And how do you become a better colleague? How do you become a better person for someone who is grieving? When only by understanding, right? First, you have gone through grief, so you know how to walk through grief. You know how people can help you walk through the grief. And after you have understood how people have helped you walk through the grief, you can also help someone else then walk through their grief by using similar tactics that other people had used to help you walk through your grief, right? So that's why grief is important. These are all the higher purposes of when we face grief in life, when we have heartbreak in life, when we have a difficult, challenging life circumstance show up in our life. And this is also a way to understand how fortunate you are in life, because grief is something everyone will experience. Heartbreak is not something that people will not have in their life. Sometimes it is minor heartbreaks, minor disappointments, where your spouse is doing something that you are not understanding why the spouse is doing this way, or your brother is teasing you and you don't understand why is he teasing you, or whatever it is. Sometimes heartbreaks can be minor level heartbreaks, or not that big heartbreak like a breakup with a boyfriend, or divorce from a spouse, or death of a family. These are the major heartbreaks people can face in their life. But minor heartbreaks also can happen when we are denied something we crave. We want a promotion and job and that didn't happen, or we wanted some prize we didn't get, or we are expecting our mother and father to be a X way, but they aren't, they are a completely different way. All these can also end up happening, because sometimes it can happen that if she shares something with the mother, yes, it is possible that after sharing something with the mother or a father, if it was a dictatorial family, one or the other might get really angry with her for having hidden a relationship. That can definitely manifest. And then that, but if that also manifested, once you trusted them with your grief and they didn't appropriately respond in a way that would have been helpful to you in some way or the other, and instead of not just being helpful, they went the other way, completely harming you way, by being angry at you or chiding you, or taking away, giving you timeouts that you can't go out for dates, or whatever things they do, where you might feel instead of helping you with your grief, they went the opposite way. At that time, yes, you will know then that you can't share your grief with this person anymore, or not in so much detail. Maybe you can still show some aspects of your grief, but instead of showing all the details, you may only show a bit of what you can reveal to them, because that is there. When you trust someone and they break your trust, or again, it is about, did they really break your trust, or are you thinking they broke your trust? That also can sometimes manifest in your life. So this cultivating this discernment, when she is saying how, like, the meme is about how some people feel they can't express things deeply with their family. But the reality is, you can express. Some people actually do have those family with whom you can really express what is going on, while some people are there who have families with whom you realistically cannot even express a fraction of the things going wrong in your life, because they just are not capable sometimes. Like for me, why did I say in the beginning of the video, my life before my mother's death or after my mother's death was almost similar, is because of this. The only difference was, after my mother's death, society knows I don't have a mother who will take care of my emotional needs, or most people know. Again, does that mean that my emotional needs from a mother will be taken care of by someone? No, it can only be taken care of by someone who has maybe walked my path, understood what it feels like when you don't have a parent around to help you process your grief. That person might understand my path and journey, right? But who else will understand my path and journey? The other persons who have had addicted parents, abused parents, neglectful, abusive, addictive, gambling ridden, other neglect ridden family, who are maybe like, workaholic parents, because even workaholic parents can be neglectful parents. They can be continuously working outside the home life, so they've never focused in their home life to see what is actually going on within the home life, within the people in the family and their circumstances in life. That can also show up in people's lives. So those kind of people will understand my journey. And for me, before my mother died also, I didn't really have a mother who ever asked me during my the 20 years she lived with me about what was going on with my school life, what was going on in any aspect of my life. There's only like in 20 years one time I was like really not a good child, and at that time someone came and complained to my mother that she was doing this, auntie. And at that time, only one time my mother was really realistically involved in my life. Other than that, never involved, never involved. So that thing, when you don't have anyone involved also, people don't value this about Indian families or Asian families. People being involved in your business, or people poking nose in your business. But while people consider, and the gossip and all these things are considered usually a negative thing, and it can be a negative thing when it is a very low vibrational thing without actually a true higher purpose or true meaningful reasons for connecting. But the same thing that someone can perceive as a gossip, or someone can perceive as a interference from a family, like she's annoyed, right? It is perceived by her that this is interference from a family. She's not even been allowed to cry for 1 hour, which is true. Like, she's not been allowed to cry, but they don't want her to cry also, and they want to stem her away slowly away from her depression. Otherwise, I have lived a life like that before my mother's death also, after my mother's death also, where it has taken me years and years to process through depression on my own, through grief on my own, because I didn't have those people who understood my journey when I was grieving. I have many a times I had a few friends with whom I would share sometimes my grief, but they didn't ever give me meaningful advice. They didn't, sometimes they gave me meaningful advice, but which took me a while to apply. But most of the times, I didn't get a safe place to just sit and cry in front of anyone. So, but that doesn't mean that I didn't sit and cry. I just sit and cry in front of no one. But when you're sitting and crying in front of no one also, you're still sitting and crying in front of the spirit of the universe, in front of God, because God being ever present and everywhere, God sees when you are crying even by yourself. But that is the difference. When you cry by yourself, without even when living with family or when not living with family, your vulnerability is still witnessed by someone, and that witnessing of the vulnerability is what is the benefit of living in a large family, benefit of living in a large society, where or a place where you have multiple connections who are just waiting to connect to you. But in order for you to connect to them, you also have to allow yourself to be vulnerable in front of them, and of course they have to ask you what is going on. If they don't ask, you can't be vulnerable in front of people who don't even ask what is going on. So I hope this made sense. And when people talk about depression, when people talk about loneliness, these are the two main places where if people asked you what is going on, or even if you have mood disorders, all these, even any kind of emotional or mental health issue someone is going through, gets dissipated, cleared away. The trajectory of the darkness of that experience gets faded when there are people who ask actually what is going on, and not in a superficial way or a polite way, but in the real way of what is going on with you. Why are you behaving this way? What is going on with you? Why are you crying, or why are you hiding your tears, or how can we help you? These are the questions. If you ask someone going through grief and loneliness, you will take them away from suicidal thoughts. You can take them away from feeling lost. You can take them away from feeling valuing too much in their grief for a long time. There was a video, I don't know if in my previous video I have mentioned this video or not yet, because I always have insights about multiple topics I have to talk about, that's why I'm unsure. But there was this girl who in Canada is thinking of committing suicide, and she has faced betrayal after betrayal. She has been thinking of contemplating suicide since 11 years of age, and she wouldn't have contemplated suicide since that young age if she realistically had family and friends who would ask her what is going on with you. So she either doesn't have any family, or if she has family, they are very neglectful, addicted, gambling led, or other problems related family. Some people also undergo sexual abuse in their family life that can add to their depression starting at a young age. Some people could have been molested at a young age and didn't have a safe space in their homes. Whatever is the reason why she was suicidal since 11 years. She did mention 3 of the circumstances, but these are barely the tip of the iceberg of the circumstances she has experienced, where someone exploited her for, say, someone assaulted her, and even though she denied sex, they still assaulted her. There was someone who used her emotionally and psychologically, was playing mind games with her. There was someone who had used her when she was younger, used her love for that person to extract work from the person, but didn't ever pay her. So all of these eventually led her to be heartbroken that people are continuously using her. So if people are just using her in the wrong and in a exploitative way, because we all have interdependence related purpose in each other's lives, but if people are using someone else in a wrong way and abusing them or exploiting them, it does make a human feel devalued. So, and devalued enough to even contemplate suicide, because realistically speaking, everything of value that she has, people are just taking without giving it back in the giving back appropriately, balancing her appropriately. So she's naturally feeling imbalanced. And when people think happiness is an internal job, these are the circumstances where happiness is not an internal job, because if she had really the capacity to, she was happy, that's why she was trusting of those people who she helped. She was happy, that's why she was even ready to listen to garbage of someone who's twisting her mind and psychologically manipulating her. If she hadn't been happy, these kind of people wouldn't have even been attracted to her. But in order to maintain the balance of happiness within her, she can't maintain that balance of happiness within her, or value within that happiness can also comes from where? From self-value. But self-value comes from where? Partly it comes from you understanding your own place in life and value and worth in life, but partly it also comes from the people who are in your life. And if you have no people in your life, realistically speaking, who meaningfully connect to you or ask you these kind of questions like this brother, mom and father were asking, those people naturally will tend towards loneliness, and then further attract more and more exploitative people or abusive people. And also conversely, they will also sometimes, if no one is there to check them, balance them, align them, show them their value, they will be suicidal. And the therapist was asking her to contact her, and therapist was showing this perspective that there are so many people whose families will be really grief stricken if the person commits suicide. That's true. There are people who, if they commit suicide, their family, their friends will be sad when they commit suicide. But there are also many people who don't have those family and friends who will even think 5 minutes about their friend, or even spend 10 minutes grieving about their friend if their friend had committed suicide or if their family had died. They just don't care. So those people do exist on the earth who do have actually either no family, or even whatever family they have, they realistically don't care about them, or whatever friends and social circle they have, they either don't have a friend and social circle, or whichever circle they do have, it's all superficially based. None of it is in-depth emotional connectivity based. And without in-depth emotional connection and people truly caring about whether you exist or don't exist, those people who want to commit suicide are those kind of people who really have people who don't have people who will care if they exist or don't exist. It's not that those humans who will care if they exist or don't exist in the world. It's just that in their immediate social circle, in their immediate daily life, in their daily life of 20-30 years for some people, or even 50-60 years for some people, there is just simply no humane or realistic human connection. There might be superficial human connection, but it's not the realistic human connection. I hope this made sense, and if anyone has any questions and comments, please drop a comment. Thank you.